into my world.
So hello everyone, this is my first recorded Theros block draft featuring one of the gods. It's the second one I did. I haven't been playing pre-releases because I don't understand why I should pay an extra ticket just to play the set 1 or 2 days earlier. Also the different timing of pre-releases is a bit suspicious to me. I really do not need that much deck building time and that much extra time. So I decided that I started with the release drafts. The draft I record here is my second one. The first one, of course, I recorded that too, but I decided not to do a voiceover because it wasn't that interesting. I lost in the first round against Phoenix 2 times. It was an excellent blue-black deck with at least 3 return phalanxes. He played all of those in the first game, so I know there were at least 3, and while I would have been able to push through with time, I just could not do it fast enough when Phoenix came down. And that god milled me in 2 turns completely. I just did not have enough time to do anything about it. In the second game I got my opponent to 1 life, but then my 25 cards in my library simply disappeared. And I think that second draft is a bit more interesting, and of course I got a lot farther in the tournament, so I have something to show you. So I think that's enough talking before the draft itself starts. And here we go. So, this is the first booster. 1 card captures my attention, that's Fated Conflagration. Triple red is a bit harsh though, so I'm looking for other options. There's an Asphyxiate in the same booster, which is just double black, a lot easier. The card isn't actually much worse. Also, black has gotten a bit of a bad rap in Born of the Gods because people think it has become weaker. I disagree, it has become more aggressive but not weaker overall. And I like drafting aggressive decks, so I might be able to capitalize on black being slightly underdrafted. There's also that Reapers Disown, which is the strongest card in the pack, but it's not strong enough to justify a 2-colored first pick in Theros. A card has to be an even bigger caliber to justify that. So second pick, there's a clearly best card. It's Raised by Wolves. Kairos Follower, I'm not sure if I pronounced it correctly, is also very strong, but again 2-colored, and Raised by Wolves is even a bit better. So I'll try that. Now I have a double black and a double green pick. I'm not really decided on any of those colors, but it is entirely possible that I might end up black-green if the cards flow that way. Born of the Gods has a lot of cards which are more or less on the same level, so very often you have no clear reason to pick cards over other cards, and if your first 2 picks already give you a preference, it is a good idea to stick to that. However, in this booster the best cards are Searing Blood and Necron Skyguard, 2 new colors, and then probably the next best card is Retraction Helix. Furious Band Trumper isn't that bad, but Searing Blood is just much stronger. It's not much of a difference if I take the Skyguard or the Searing Blood, it's a new color anyway, and the blood is just a bit better. So I take the blood and hope for the best. Now, very funny, Ifara's Enlightenment is white and blue, 2 colors I don't have yet. And, well, 2 nice cards in red. After I just took the Searing Blood, which is a 3rd pick might even be something like a signal, we can't be sure. I'm thinking about Rollica, our Tempra here, and Rollica is just a bit better, I think, bestowing for cheaper and being useful as a one-drop in some situations. So, next booster, nothing that really stands out. Oracle's Insight isn't that great, Plea for Guides is very slow, Deep Water Hypnotist is a nice 2-drop. I have no real reason not to take a card in one of my colors, and there the Sunchaser is just a bit better than the Wayfinder. So I'm switching from the strategy of taking the best few cards and seeing which cards are strong in Theros to the strategy of staying in one color if there is no excellent reason to do something else. Pick up the best red cards here. This pack, 5 drops, I don't really like. Mischief and Bane is not that great, so I decided to stay in red. It's Temper against Reveler, and since I already have a couple of cheap creatures, I take the Temper here. Could have gone other way if my first picks were different. Nyxborn Eidolon is the best card here, but Rise to the Challenge is the red card, it's not much worse. So I settle into red and hope that I'm able to monopolize that color a lot. Here Stratus Walk is the best card, Karametra's Favor is not much worse, and in the color I already have one card. Thunderbrute, a very nice red card to wheel. So the theory that red might be open seems not too unlikely. And I'm essentially red at that point with not much else. I have one double green card and one double black card, both of which I might play but do not have to. If I'm heavy red, I might shy away from both of those. So there's even room for another secondary color if I open something really great like Annex and Samid, for example, for white, or a Nimbus Knight in blue, which is excellent as well. But at that point, I'm concentrating on red and see if I want another color at all, and if so, which one. Greedy Transformation works better with small creatures. Eye Gouge isn't that bad, it's a nice combo trick. Sometimes it's a removal spell, but the transformation works really fine with red 2-drops, because red lacks evasion mostly. So, take the rare, there might even be a deck which needs it, and take the 2-drop. So the first booster has some quality, but I'm probably not playing 2 of my best cards, which is Raised by Wolves and Asphyxiate, maybe one of them. But red doesn't look too bad. And there's a Labyrinth champion. Insatiable Harpy is nice, Ordeal Thassa is nice, Twilight Cerberus would be nice if it wheels. Well, I'm in red and the champion is great, there's no reason not to take it. You might play a fun game, just note how often I draw the champion. You don't have to count too far, I promise. I already have a couple of ways to target it, by the way, so the champion really should be great in my deck. Okay, so do I have here the Hoplite is nice if I'm in white, Death Battle Raider and Titan Strength allow me to stay in red. There's a Sentry of the Underworld if I were in completely different colors, but Death Battle Raider is an excellent 2-drop. I also have to make sure I have enough cheap creatures when I'm mainly or exclusively red, so... And here, Arena Athlete is the pick over Spearplant or red because the Boon Setter isn't that much better than the Athlete. The Athlete is a great card. I also have a lot of ways to target it already. And the Boon Setter is double green as well, and I think I want to concentrate on red. It's a close pick, but I think the Athlete will do better work for me. Now that pack, still the question of green, Pharaoh Invocation, Nessian Asp. Savage Surge is not quite as good. I might have taken one of the green cards, but at this point I'm not sure I'm in green at all, and Dragon Mantle is a card I will play. However, now I sway away from that path, because as much as I like Portent of Betrayal, and there's even a situation or two where I might miss it later, I just have to accept that the Nessian Causa might be what I need, another great creature, not too expensive, and in a color I might play, so I take the creature over the trick just to keep more options open, have enough creatures. Death Perorator is right back on track here. The very strong 2-drop. Okay. There's a pause here. I look through my cards and I mostly see red. The moment I tend to green or towards green. Titan Strength is great. Boon of Erebos would be nice if I were in black, but Titan Strength is probably still better. It's a close one though. And well, Open Speaker is nice, but I'm not counter drafting here. And Borden Minotaur is fine in mono red. It's not a great card, it's not too efficient, but if you're mono red, it's a nice 4-drop. So here, well, I could take a hate pick, but then again, I might play the Sandals and there wasn't really something I needed to hate. Here, Rescue from the Underworld might end up in a deck which makes good use of it, so I take it away. And well, selection gets thinner. Guardians of Militis might stand in my way, so I'll take it. And I still need quite a lot of playables. So Rage of Perforos, I don't like that card at all, but I can play one if I'm heavy red and don't have the quality of another color. The card has its uses, it's just a card I prefer to cut from my decks. But it's a nice late pick. So, Hunter x Hunter won't be of much use for me even if I go green. I just have 2 free creatures, 2 free green creatures I mean. 1 booster to go. At that moment I hide black because I see the Causa, I see the Raised by Wolves. I think I need them as playables, so I think about red-green. Well, but then the best cards in that pack are Ordeal of Erebos and Fanatic of Morgus. The Fanatic is great in a red deck, and I'm a red deck. The Ordeal isn't too bad as well, but at that point I'm not looking into black, and no matter if I play black or green, then anyway I will play red. And the Fanatic is just excellent. So, what now? Phalanx Leader's double white, I won't move into white now. As excellent as that card is, that is just too late for a double white card. If it was a splash maybe, but there's no way I'm going double white now. So I just take the good solid creature, the Spearpoint Orient. Now I see that Winston Rider and think, and after thinking, of course I take a red Ordeal. The deck is coming together nicely. There's a Twitted Cerberus. I like Dragon Mantle Titan Strength, but I'm still looking for creatures and I haven't set it in green yet, so I take a Cerberus, which I want with Titan Strength and Dragon Mantle and Bestow and everything. So Vaporkin would be a hate pick chosen by Heliod, might be a white splash instead of going green, but more likely is I just need a green creature at that point. Burnished Heart would be a 3 mana to 2 in my deck. Well, I prefer the 2 mana to 1, with the unstable, much more likely to make my deck in the end. And yeah, Necron Hoplite, it's too late for that. Let's set a Rumble as another good 2-drop. Allows me to stay in red, and I might not even have to play green. For that reason, Hopeful Eidolon is not just a hate pick, but also a card I might play if I split white instead of green. I'm not decided at the moment. The alternative would be Spark George, or if I wanted a hate pick, maybe Cypher, but no, I would have hated the Eidolon, and maybe I play it. Still looking for the last few picks, and there's an Ordeal of Erebos tabling, so that's interesting. And there's a Destructive Revelry. My choices are still open at that point. Green, black, maybe splash of white, and then there's a Dragon Mantle, another card which helps me to stay really mono red. And we'll have some interesting deck building process soon. So that's why I made all cards visible again, because I thought maybe black again would be Ordeal. Here I'm trying out black instead of green, and it doesn't look that bad. Well, as always, I first clear out my card, which is on top, non-creatures at the bottom row. So a lot of coolers which I like. Some good tricks or enhancers. Coolers which double as enhancers, which is the typical feature of heroes or the still feature. The Dragon Mantle, which will allow me to get away with a slightly lower land count for the cycle. So there's the Bone Saber and the Grisly Transformation if I want to splash black, then it will not just be the idea. And that's 25 cards, that's a possible build. And it also means I can get by without black. I would play 16 lands if I put the Fleet Feather Sandals in, which is possible. Or I could go red-white instead of red-black for the Eidolon. I also look at the green options again. Whereas Barrows is still great. Here I see what happens if I take out black. It's possible, it's playable, but I might want the extra oomph which a secondary color gives me. And there's one thing I look more closely at soon, and that is I have 2 Death Battle Raider. And those want some black mana, so I will probably play 1 or 2 songs anyway. And if I do that, there's a lot of reason to play even a couple more swarms so that I can use all the leftovers in Grisly Transformation. So here I have 2 Raider and I think, well, I want some black on this hand. Now that's 25 cards. Here I need more than 15 lands. I see those mantles. The Grisly Transformation is also some kind of cancer. 15 lands and 40 cards. That's the same as something in between 22 or 23 lands and 65 constructed deck. And a deck with that lower curve like this could get by with it. Color mana shouldn't be a problem either. Of course not a 13-2 distribution, I have no idea what the program thinks here. 1-11-4 should be fine. Second turn, black ordeal can happen, won't always happen, but it's still a nice card later. You can also use it on the athlete and the champion. So, I guess this is my deck. I don't like it quite a lot. It could have needed a lightning strike, for example, instead of the rate of Perforos. That would have been great. And I missed that part of Betrayal, which is nowadays in Corsa. On my sideboard. It's a really strong deck. And I have a chance to return it, I guess. So, even though I had several minutes on the clock, I was the last player to finish. It's interesting. It means that probably this is quite a strong drafting table because good players tend to build their decks faster, and also good decks tend to allow to build them faster. Just like my deck was, well, kind of fast to build. So I hide the chat window, so the screen is clearer and there's less things vying for and under his attention. Okay, first amount. Second turn there will be a Death Battle Raider coming down, and here it is. Play the mountain, so lightning strike is a possibility, but there is none, and the Death Battle Raider can now get to work. Pity out of 2 dams, and I can't cast the Sage Blood, but I have 2 drops enough, so I can keep off the pressure for a while. Now here, there's a clear searching for a secondary color of mana. My opponent playing Titan Strength on my creature, just described. He kept the card on top, that's what I look up here. So he is going to find something, and I still don't have a third land, but I have a third 2-drop, so things are still fine. My opponent is under some pressure, but now I really should draw another land. Which I don't. That's bad. Still, I'm just attacking. If I had a second mountain now, I would immediately have played Searing Blood on the Satyr, but I can't. He's not blocking with it, but he goes down to 8 with it. So the pressure's on. On the other hand, he now gets to make a big play, and his big play is, well, it's just a 3-1. That's not that impressive. So at this point, I have to decide if I want to kill something with Searing Blood, and instead I decide to make my Death Battle Raider bigger because it will have to attack every turn, and big creatures are coming on the other side. I thought that nothing could happen to it because my opponent obviously didn't have Lightning Strike, or he would have played it before. But what I didn't think of was the Born of the Gods coming, Fall of the Hammer, which obviously couldn't play before, but can play now. So he's able to 2-for-1 me, and I feel a bit silly. But still, there's pressure going on. He decides to block, which is probably smart, and falls to 6. And I have still a lot of cards in my hand, which might apply pressure. So there's a Ferrous-Bound Tromper, that one's big. I have to do something. Well, there's a Dragon Mantle. That allows me to attack into the Tromper. I also find a 4th land. So attack it is. My opponent decides not to go to potentially 3, which seems wise against a red deck. So I can kill the Satyr, which is fine with me. I know that no creatures will come which are too big. And Spearpoint Oread is a bit smaller than the Centaur, but, well, if he keeps it back to block, which he does, that's fine with me. There's a 5th land, and now Rage of Pathos can finally do something. I know my opponent might have something to draw the Tromper, although it's probably not a Savage Surge I would have attacked. But that's okay. It's not that I'm happy to see that 5-5, but hey, I get to scry, the Rick is out of his hand, so I know it's there, and I can still attack for the turn because the Oread has First Strike. Even Titan Strength would not save the Tromper here. So my opponent is down to 4 now. And that big Tromper is still standing on guard duty. By the way, I just scryed for the 6th land, which is just what I need here. Big Thunderbrute coming down. Obviously in that situation, it's likely that my opponent chooses not to pay the tribute and allows me to have a 5-5 creature with haste, since he has a 5-5 to block, and maybe even a trick to simply kill the Brute. But I have no reason to attack. I have the kill in hand. I just need my creatures to survive for another turn. And even if something happens to them, there's still that Searing Blood which can deal 3 damage. Another Feral Invocation. Now the Tromper is 7-7. And that's still not big enough. Now it's 9-9. But I don't care how big a creature is if it doesn't do anything. And that creature is not doing anything at the moment. Fanatic Amogus kills him. So big creatures are not useful if you're already that far behind. That's the point. That's why all those auras like Feral Invocation and what's the name of the red one? Fearsome Temper work better with 2 drops than with 4 drops. You have to apply pressure. So I'm playing against Green Fat, that means Asphyxiate will probably be a very good card. Rage of Pathos is probably not that great, his creatures tend to be too big. I have to adjust the mana, of course. 6 Swarms should be enough for Asphyxiate. And well, 9 Mountains is still not bad, even though the Dragon Mantles will be a bit weaker. But I really want that Asphyxiate against big green creatures. play second game. Obviously, my opponent will play first. And that hand isn't great. I have to play the Rollica as a 1-drop so that I can put a Dragon Mantle on it and draw into more cards, but I can't do that, and I have Asphyxiate in the mana for it, and my deck is full of 2-drops, so I have 2 turns to draw it, that comes on time, and then with the Dragon Mantle I have 2 more draws until turn 3, and here is a 2-drop, so everything works out fine. And that means I have no reason to play the Rollica. I prefer to bestow it on the radar. So here's the Death Battle radar. Once again applying pressure. Once again seeing if there's a lightning strike, and there isn't. There's a Spearpoint Orient, which is just a tad too small to block my radar. So here we go. Putting Ordeal on Death Battle radar, not just applying pressure, but also draw it out of Bolt of Keranos and Lightning Strike range. Taking some damage, putting a counter that, and for some reason I do not play Dragon Mantle on the radar. I don't know why. I didn't forget, I remember that I thought about it. I just don't know what my thought process was. I really don't know. I'm sorry, it might just have been a stupid misplay. Seeing this, I should have played the Mantle, obviously. Well, okay. But everything is fine so far. The radar is big enough. The opponent now has a 4/4, so I have to grow my radar to 4/5, so it can survive a time to feed. Then I play out 2 more creatures. I could have bestowed something, but it's better to add to the board in Theros. You just need a lot of board presence. Yeah, my opponent does the opposite. He staples everything on top of each other, and that's just not... well, it's a bit risky. You want to have those big plays, but if you have to rely on them, that's not good enough. So here comes Asphyxiate. 7/5 first strike is a bit too strong for my taste as a blocker. And what's left now can be dealt with rather easily. So, well, just attacking with everything. Ordeal triggers for the last time. The opponent goes down to 1 card. He has to block something, or he takes way too much damage. So I think I'm in an excellent situation here. He kept the Wolf in play, I'm not sure why. I would have blocked the smaller Death Battle Raider if I were in his position, I guess. But well, maybe he has an excellent reason. So I now finally cycled the Dragon Mantle. My opponent has 6 cards in hand, no idea what he expects to do here. Well, I know what it is, and I know why he wanted to keep a creature alive. He obviously had something to cast on it, but it won't help him. I just bestow the Death Battle Raider so that I have 2 creatures which do not need to regenerate, so if he blocks one or does something to one, I can regenerate that. There's the Feral Invocation, that's great, but it doesn't do jack. He has to block, I can regenerate, and as soon as I show him that I won't forget to do that, he concedes. So that was an easy first round. Even though my opponent's creatures were bigger, I still was faster, and even though slightly bigger creatures are usually good to have in such a matchup, the tricks in Theros are so efficient and so plentiful that you can punch through opponent his defense, even if his creatures are bigger, as long as you have consistent draws, and that's what I managed to have. Okay, at that point I will pause because it's a bit boring to wait for, I think it were 20 or even 30 minutes until the next round starts. So I'll make a cut here.
So fucking special.
Okay, here we are for the second round. This is a very reasonable hand. I keep that. It's a pity it doesn't seem like I can play a second turn Ordeal of Erebus on my Nyxgon Rollicka, but that's okay. Seeing that I draw my Ordeal of Peripherals, that's fine. So Rollicka first turn it is. My opponent played a green-white Scryland, so there's a good chance my Rollicka might survive, but I know there could be a Last Breath. Okay, instead there comes a Springleaf Drum, so Last Breath will not be available this turn, but since the Ordeal doesn't get my Rollicka out of Last Breath range until next turn, I still hesitate to bestow it. Instead, I will just play a 2-drop, and the next turn then I can play the Ordeal with Titan Strength back up, and Titan Strength would be able to counter a Last Breath. So 1-drop, 2-drop, that's how an aggressive deck wants to start, even though the cards themselves aren't particularly impressive. And talking about cards which are not too impressive, it's a 3-mana 1/1, which does interesting things if it is bestowed, if it attacks, but as things stands, it's a blocker for 3 mana and it's 1/1. So here's the Ordeal on the Rollicka because I might want to use the Reveler on the Springleaf Drum. Also because I think it's more likely that my opponent blocks the 2/1 than a 1/1. And I want him to block here, because I want to play my Titan Strength to get his creature off the table. Well, okay, it will be off the table if it blocks, but I want to scry and I want my creatures to survive, so that I can keep up the pressure. My opponent blocks just as I hoped, and here's the Titan Strength, and I want to keep that on the athlete, no doubt about that. So, Unicorn down. 1 counter on the Rollicka, but well, I'm playing against green again, and again there's a Trompa, which is bigger than what I have. So at this point maybe I didn't make the optimal play. Maybe I should have offered the trade of Rollicka plus Ordeal for the Trompa, because the Trompa will grow anyway with the Springleaf Drum, but then again I have the Athlete in hand, so I might be able to stop it from blocking in the not too far future, and there might be a chance I can actually get my Ordeal to give the 3rd counter. So I decide not to attack, play the Minotaur instead, which can attack into the center on the next turn, even if my opponent uses his drum, which for unfathomable reasons he doesn't. I suppose he just forgot. Well, he has a lot of lands. And he has a time to feed. Now that is bad. I lose my Ordeal and the creature, and my opponent even gets life, so that didn't work out as planned. But because he forgot to use the drum, I can still apply some pressure. Here's the Minotaur coming in. Understandably, my opponent does not want to block here, prefers to grow his Trompa instead, so I play 2 more creatures and keep up the pressure. I don't think I want to use the Reveler on the Springleaf Drum here. one big blocker is just that, one big blocker, and I have the athlete, so I prefer to have a couple of creatures in play. And my opponent is down to one card at that point. Now I see he's playing a third color, which always means that you have to play a couple more lands. This is just what happens. My opponent is a bit flooded. 6 lands and a Springleaf Drum. So I did not find a way to target my athlete. I did not find a swamp to do it with the Ordeal. But I have a small Sunchaser to come in, and my Minotaur can get another attack in because my opponent forgot to use the drum once. Still, the Sunchaser has to do a lot of work here. And now there's a big Tromper dropping on my creatures. Okay, that's now 7 lands and a Springleaf Drum. And the last card in my opponent's hand is the Disciple. Annoying, but not too impressive. And the Trumper, of course, does not want to attack here. Well, I drew a blank. Considering how my deck is built, I'm actually a little flooded myself, although certainly not as bad as my opponent. Well, the Sunchaser is preparing to hit my opponent for 14 times, it seems, because at this moment I can't do anything else. So no, now there's one card in hand again. And I finally have the Swamp to do something with my Arena Athlete, which I do. So this turn Tromper won't block, which means Minotaur can attack the Disciple, and if the Disciple is gone, then the Athlete might be able to shut down the Tromper again, so that everything can attack, depending on what my opponent draws. The trade Disciple against Minotaur, obviously. Sunchaser drops my opponent to 12, Tromper grows a bit more. Well, last match I won against a really big Tromper, and now my opponent is really flooded. So I have a mediocre draw here as a downright bad draw, and now I have another way to target my Athlete and deal a lot more damage, and actually even get around the Tromper on the next turn. I have to play another land just in case something with Flash happens, so that my Athlete won't get blocked by it, using the ability to Temper in that case, and going all in. And that's enough for him. So once again, big green creatures, which means once again Asphyxiate, which means once again extra swamps. In Pure Mountains, question is, what do I take out for the Asphyxiate? After what I have seen, I think the Rage of Perthos might be useful. So the card I decide to take out is a Bonsai, because I don't think that a mostly green-white deck, which my opponent's decks seem to be, will have much removal, and I don't need that many 2-drops if my opponent doesn't kill them. The redundancy is normally because I have to be prepared for 1 or 2 of my cheap creatures getting killed, or I can do anything interesting with enhancing cards. And I have still enough 2-drops here. The Sunchaser stays in, was great last game. Well, it wasn't great, but it did its job. So I already submitted, and for some reason my opponent takes all his time. Well, his deck looked a bit complicated. So maybe if he's sideboarding, he has to adjust his mana ratio. My opponent used up all of his sideboard time, so I decided to make another cut, and well, obviously I cannot keep that hand. Note that the Lebenhoof champion is in my hand, in a hand with no land, so that I cannot keep it. I don't think that counts. Well, my second hand is a lot better. I hate money getting in limited. One card less is quite a handicap. I think many people tend to err towards mulliganing too often and not often enough. Not often enough. So my Death Battle Raider gets a lightning strike. It's interesting. I got the impression that my opponent was only splashing red. If he splashes red for lightning strike, well, I know some people do that. I'm not a fan. But as you see, he's been punished for that obscenity. And last game he was flooded, this game he's screwed. So my second 2-drop isn't quite as impressive as my first one, but it survives. And after I see that it survives the attack, I'm risking a Dragon Mantle, and it resolves. I get another card. So I'm fine with that. And now I have a fire-breathing flyer against an opponent with only 2 lands. That seems nice. So, what do you have? Erebos, Titan Strength, protects against Last Breath. So the Sun Chaser becomes to 2. I pump it, no Last Breath possible anymore. Now I'm thinking, should I keep the Titan Strength in case of a Magma Jet, but then I decide against it. I don't think my opponent has a Magma Jet who would have played it, I'm pretty certain. So I get in for maximum damage, and suddenly there's pressure on the board. So there's a Scryland again. Not helping him to play anything this turn because it comes to play tapped. Scry is nice and everything, but I hate it when my lanes come to play tapped. And here you go again. Small flyer becoming a big flyer. So I decide against keeping Titan Strength open, just pumping for 1 damage and playing the Minotaur. And there's a lot of pressure right here. Actually, my opponent is dead on his next turn if he can't do anything. He does something though. There's the Trumper again. Kind of a theme this tournament, me attacking against Ferrisbane Trumpers. Well, since my opponent is tapped out, this is simple math. He has to block the Minotaur, or he's dead, because I can pump my Sun Chaser to become a 7/4. By the way, I also have him discard 2 cards, but well, when he has 7 cards in hand, that's not too bad for me. He's discarding Colossus of Acros, so I think my win is justified. Whoever plays with Colossus deserves to lose. Titan Strength kills the Trumper so that I can keep my Ridge of Perforos. And that's enough for him. That was a short game. And I believe it's time for another cut. So third and final round is about to start. My opponent asked me if I want to split. I didn't know the expression sharp, so I asked him what it is he wants. And I have to refuse, of course, because when I'm recording I want to play the last round, and that's what I'm telling him. He would give me the qualifier point though, which is nice, although I don't really need that. So playing for all the marbles. That's a really nice opening hand. And we're off again. Mountain. Oh, Mountain is always a good start in a red deck, isn't it? So I get to have the first play with Death Battle Raider. Excellent 2-drop. But this time our opponent has a 2-drop which isn't worth at all. He needs to be heavy green for it, but well, he does. Note that's the third time in a row I'm playing against a green deck, which isn't exactly what a red deck wants to do, but hey. So I decide to make the Death Battle Raider big, because I expect more fat green creatures and there's stuff like Time to Feed. In another Sorter Centaur, I already like my opponent's deck. Excellent 2-drops, green as a primary color, blue as a secondary color, that's a bad matchup for me. His creature is bigger than mine and blue cards denying me my tempo advantage and punishing me for using creature enhancers. That's as bad as it can get. Still I'm on the offense here. Have another creature. My opponent is already at 12, so I am applying pressure, just what I want to do, but he keeps hitting back. And green-blue is the deck type which is really best suited to win tempo wars. Now I have to play around a million of things. I just can't count them. Griptide, Voyage's End, Horizon Chimera, Savage Surge. It just keeps going, so I cannot afford to attack the Cerberus. Just see what happens with the Raider, and the Raider drops him down to 8. Oh, that's nice. So I have another drop, playing my card. That's not too bad. And he doesn't use his mana. Now that's a good sign. That means I'm actually ahead on tempo now. You can tell by the fact that he's not coming in. But there's a big asp. Oh, that's kind of a problem. Or it would be, but Arena Athlete comes to the rescue, gets bestowed immediately. So now asp blocking, and now you see how important it is to apply pressure, because if my opponent had still, say, 16 life or something, he would have a lot better blocking options, but that is what tempo is all about, denying your opponent options. And so he's forced to block and trade creatures, always nice to do that. So I keep the Death Battle Raider and the Arena Athlete, here's the asp, that looks not too bad for me. But then again, he has 6 money, he has 4 cards in hand, he's about to do something with those cards. And this he does. Although he waits for my turn to do it. So obviously I cannot attack into the asp. Well, the Raider has to, but the Athlete won't do such a stupid thing. Now we'll see what happens. There's a block, I don't need to regenerate. I play the Bone Saber. And now I finally get to see what my opponent is up to. Aha, Retraction Helix. My nice 4/5 Minotaur goes back to my hand. That's not good. Gets worse, Savage Surge. And my Arena Athlete too. Well, this would be a really bad situation to be in if my opponent wasn't at 4 life. But since he is, I'm still in the driver's seat. Now that's an okay card, but if you needed to block, the 2/2 for 5 is just not what you want. So I'm getting large here, as large as I can. And now my opponent decides to do something I did not expect here. Concedes. I think that's a bit early. I don't know what he has in hand, but I cannot imagine that the game was already over for him. But hey, I'm not complaining. So third time in a row, big green creatures means third time in a row Asphyxiate comes in, 2 Swarms come in, 2 Mountains go out. And since I saw a Nessian Asp and a 2-2 Flyer, I think this time this is not the best matchup for my little Sunchaser. Also the blue bounce will negate anything I bestow upon it. So maybe it's better to put it in the sideboard. Now second game. I cannot keep that opening hand. I do not have a single creature, and against a green-blue tempo deck that is simply not keepable. So, even though I hate mulliganing, I have to mulligan that. That hand is okay, it's not excellent. You don't want a Rage of Purpose in the opening hand, but hey, I have a 2-drop, I have an enhancer, I have 3 lands, even a swamp in there, so I cannot complain. Well, I can always complain, but that's a fair 6-card hand. Still, I don't like my chances too much here. Another late game card. And my opponent has an excellent 2-drop, Vaporkin, which is just better than my 2-drop in this situation. Still, I want the Athlete out, because my way to target is the Titan Strength, and if I have to play that, I want to play it on a card which can attack. Now Kyora's Follower, or however it's pronounced. Another excellent card, I really like his deck. Those 2 Sorter Centaur, Vaporkin, Kyora's Follower, that's a great base for a green-blue deck. Still, I have a shot. If his draw isn't that excellent, I might still be able to Eco-Win out. Sometimes the ordeal just wins. So I take over the lead with the damage race, and if he relies on blocking, I might have a shot, but hey, instead he relies on a Planeswalker. Well, everyone who knows me knows that I hate Planeswalkers, especially in Limited, and Kyora is as bad as they come. So my Arena Athlete is mostly neutered. Of course, I'm still attacking because I want to get another counter on the Athlete so that I might be able to trigger the Ordeal next turn. But I can't do anything to Kyora. I lay down a second creature, but I'm already behind the tempo and I still have that Planeswalker to get rid of. So my chances are already very slim. I have to hope that somehow the Ordeal goes all the way and I get around his blockers to kill Kyora with the help of Arena Athlete, and whatever I'm hoping, well, I can forget about it. Retraction Helix bounces the Athlete. Before he does that, Kyora makes sure that the Rambler will not deal any damage. Then the follower could have untapped the Vaporkin, but my opponent prefers to play this in Asp. So that is a terrible position to be in. I'm behind on tempo, I still have to deal with the Planeswalker, and there's that really big blocker. But hey, that deck is really excellent, and the Planeswalker topping it off means that I simply have no chance. I need to have a better draw, and my opponent needs to have a not quite perfect draw. So I'm playing the athlete, but looking at the situation on the board, there's not much hope that it's going to do anything. So Kyora one step before ultimating, so I really have to get her off the board. Her follower putting out an Archetype of Imagination, a bit expensive, but since I know my opponent has a lot of good cheaper drops, that's entirely fine. So there's not really a chance for me to win this game, but at least I want to get that Planeswalker off the table, even if I have to get past 2 blockers to do it. And this is what I do. But there's a theoretical chance I'm not dying next turn. It involves essentially my opponent misclicking really badly. But hey, I'm killing Kyora. That's something at least. And that's my opponent's revenge, killing me. Another excellent card, which goes really well with his 2 drops. I like his deck. If the cards came my way, I would have loved to draft such a deck. But they didn't. So, I have nothing in the sideboard to deal with the Planeswalker. I have 1 main deck card, which can help. So, I'm changing nothing. Now there will be another cut because my opponent for some reason won't be continuing our match until several minutes past, so here we go. So, my opponent finally decided to do something, mulligan to 6, which means I'm slightly more optimistic than last game. I also have a decent opening hand. But then again, the 6 card hand is not bad at all. Vaporkin comes down again. I think about killing it immediately, but usually it's better to develop my board instead. Since I'm on the play, I'm ahead on tempo, and playing another creature is just great. Unfortunately, that Omen Speaker is a very reasonable blocker for 2 mana, and of course the Scry will improve my opponent's hand. So I'm a bit stumped here, and my mana doesn't work out perfectly. I cannot play Asphyxiate, I cannot play Searing Blood and Titan Strength, I cannot play Searing Blood and Ordeal of Perforus. I have to decide what I'm doing now. And since I need another land, I decide to no, it's not bestowing, I know. I decide to enchant my Deathbed Raider with Grisly Transformation to draw another card. Also the Raider, the one which has to attack, is a good target for an Evasion Aura. Then I attack with the Cerberus because I might lay a land and play a Spark Jolt on the Omen Speaker. And because maybe the Omen Speaker attacks back, so that's a blocker less, but no luck here. Vaporkin is keeping the opponent in the race, but it's not that bad at the moment. Still, my mana doesn't work out the way I hoped it would. So I attack again. Omen Speaker blocks the Cerberus. I'm thinking about Titan Strength here, but against all that open mana, that's just not a great idea. So I decide to just add to the board, which is a good thing. And I would have liked to play Dragon Mantle on something to draw another card, but against open mana that's just not a brilliant idea. And that's what would have happened. I would not have drawn the card. So, one bounce spell out of his hand. I hope he doesn't have another. He has Kyrora instead, but hey, this time I can deal with the Planeswalker. So at this point, I'm actually hoping I might win that game and win that tournament. If my opponent's last two cards aren't great, maybe that's good enough. So, kill the one creature which is damaging me, kill Kyrora at the same time. Now if I had another mountain, I could have even attacked with Reveler to apply more pressure. Putting an Ordeal on it would have been great, but I'm still a bit short on mana. And unfortunately, my opponent's not out of it yet. Still, that's a 2/2 blocker at the moment. If I can keep attacking, everything is fine. So there's an Ordeal for the Cerberus. Once again, keeping me in the race. And here I think I should have attacked with Reveler and play the Titan Strength if Omen Speaker blocks. I didn't do that because I wanted to play the Mantle, I suppose, to draw another card, and then I just did not play the Mantle. I don't know why. I think I just goofed up. And that's bad, of course. Well, my opponent's still on 10 life, and now we start to draw cards. If the Omen Speaker were out of the way, maybe I would have had a chance. I don't know. Still, things are not looking that bad. My opponent might have lands in hand, so this time the Reveler attacks. What it should have done last turn. Omen Speaker blocks. But this time my opponent has a lot of open mana. So I'm thinking, well, Titan Strength it is. And I get to scry. If it resolves, does it? Yes, it does. No Fearsome Temper not helping me here. I just need land. I could have played Titan Strength on Cerberus, of course. That was what I was considering. But then again, if the Cerberus keeps attacking, then I'm winning. And I just knew my opponent had to have something against it, so I did not want to put all my eggs in one basket. I checked, my opponent kept the card he scored for on top. That's always bad news. So the game is slowly slipping away. My opponent drawn 2 cards a turn, not being too far behind the damage race. And now bad news become worse news, less than F's. Well, if I drew a swamp, but I didn't, the Asphyxiate is mocking me, saying, look, I'm excellent now. Play me, you might win the game. But I can't. Instead I have to attack my Deathbed Raider into the Asp. So I draw another card, it's not helping me here. No Asphyxiate coming, no regeneration mana.
Asphyxiate might have won me the game at that point, if I could have played it. So it was kinda close. But now I can't do anything. I mean, I can attack, I cannot attack. I'm dying both ways. I don't know what would have to happen that I still won after I did not draw the Swarm for Asphyxiate. Don't think there was anything. And well, opponent kills me in style. I mean, had to have something. A land would have killed me by making the S monstrous. And that was it. I had quite a good deck, but I lost against a better deck. But it's okay. Making the finds of an 8-4 is not the worst thing. So thanks for watching, and please do not forget to comment if you have anything to say.